we're about to make my favorite pasta sauce of all time, Ragù alla Bolognese. This sauce recipe is about ingredients, because that's it. There's, other than salt and pepper, there is no seasoning. Everything is just pure ingredients. And the star of this one, sirloin tip roast from Warnyca Land Cattle in Montmartre, Saskatchewan. Now, I've trimmed up the beef. And then I'm going to render the fat out of the trim. And there's the 1-inch strips. And cut them into 1-inch cubes, roughly. You can probably go as small as 3/4, but I tried to hit around the 1-inch mark. And there it is, pretty much just shy of 4 pounds of sirloin tip roasted goodness. Now the fat's starting to render down, leaving a nice little fond on the bottom of the pan. And I'm just going to cook these guys till they're nice and crispy. And then I'm going to reserve that beef fat. And there's just a tiny bit left, residual left in the pan. And that's when I'm going to put some olive oil in and add my soffittro. I did 2 carrots, 2 stalks of celery, and it turned out 3 onions. There's only 2 in the picture, but I used 3. And the acidity of that actually lifted the fond right up off the bottom. And I just sauteed this for about 10 minutes just to soften it up and bring it down, at which point adding one of my favorite things of all time, pancetta. Oh, I love pancetta. Bacon. Anyway, cook the pancetta till it was crispy. And of course, it rendered a bit of fat out as well too. And a lot of that was absorbed by the soffittro, and it started to leave its own little bit of a fond, which is perfect. And after the pancetta started to get a bit crispy and the nice little fond, I removed it, added a tablespoon of beef fat and a tablespoon of olive oil, put in my beef. Now I put my beef in portions. I do it roughly about 1/4, maybe 1/5 at a time. So I just brown these very quickly, and it increased the evaporation rate so they're not swimming in their own fluid for too long. So I'm just going to start to brown these up. And of course the fond is already starting to brown, and I don't want it to burn because I'm going to be doing this for a while. So I hit it with a little splash of scotch just to lift this fond up, release a bit of fluids, and make a nice little Scotch beef gravy. And then I'm going to add some more beef. Cook that, bring that up to temperature. And cook that again, let it release. More, and you can see just a beautiful gravy. And I've already added a bit of scotch in here to lift the fond up that started to develop there. And then add a bit more beef. And basically just keep browning this beef. The browner, crispier, and more caramelized it gets, the better. But of course, it takes a little bit. You end up releasing a little bit of fluid. And then just keep cooking till that's gone. And at this point, that stuff is just going to start to crisp up. I love how brown these are getting. Nice fond developing in the bottom of the pan. And then I add the soffittro back in, because I want this all to caramelize together. If I had the soffittro in from the very beginning, it would be way overcooked at this point. Probably even a little bit burnt. Anyway, once we get to the point where we've got a nice fond on the bottom of the pan, oh, look at that. All that crispy flavor goodness just waiting to be released. About 2 cups of white wine, in this case a Wayne Gretzky Pinot Grigio. And that's just going to pick up all that fond off the bottom of the pan, release some from the sides as well too. And basically I just cook that till the wine is entirely evaporated. No fluid left at all. And even it starts leaving a tiny bit of a fond again. That's when I add the milk, veal stock, and whole San Marzano style tomatoes. These 2 cans here. 4 cups of milk and 3 cups of veal stock. A little salt. Hit it with some pepper. And that's it. Bring it to a light boil and then reduce to a simmer and cover 3/4. And then this is after 2 hours. And it's starting to take on that orangish cast to it. The tomatoes have started to break down a bit. Just stirred. I stir it about every 20 minutes or so, but every half hour is good. You see, just starting to thicken up. It's about 4 hours in. Still a little more liquidy than I like. Now here, 6 hours, it's starting to get there. It's so close. So I think it's time to start the pasta. Nice broad, flat pasta is perfect for Bolognese. There we go. That sauce is ready to go. It's basically meat porridge. Oh, I love meat porridge. Meat is so tender at this point. Topped it with a little pecorino romano, a little tab of butter, some pepper. If I'd had a basil leaf or two, it'd be on there, but ours were done. Our seedlings haven't come up yet, and there was none in the grocery store. I could have killed for some basil. But, oh well, still delicious though. It's one of my favorite pasta sauces of all time. Ragù alla Bolognese.